Hey there, welcome in. If you saw the thumbnail, rest assured that this is not a clickbait title or video. No, in fact, it is a drink-worthy video. As you can see, apparently you all like content simply for content's sake, so here you go. Pour yourself your own glass and settle in for me as I tell you the 15 figures that I recently canceled and why. Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And as I said, today I'm going to be telling you the truth about 15 figures that I recently canceled and the reasoning behind it. And in fact, it's actually 16, but as you will see, you can't really have one without the other. So I thought, and I lumped them all together as one. So I'm going to be breaking them into 3 different categories. The what was I thinking category, premium regret, and yeah, this one hurts. But before we get into that, as I said, I'm happy to be making content again regularly here on YouTube for right now. Fingers crossed. But if this is your first time or you stumbled across my video after unsubscribing, well, go ahead and please get back on the train and make sure that you are subscribed, because in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to try to lay out a bold plan for reeling in a massive portion of that giant collecting and toy community audience. So make sure that you are subscribed and follow me on all my different social channels that are listed down below. So let's get to it. The main event, 15 figures gone. And what's worse, 15 non-refundable deposits or NRDs gone. Or are they? And I actually want to start right here, because one of the biggest reasons that I actually considered moving on from some of these pre-orders was because I was able to get my NRD back on most of them, believe it or not. And no, it was not any sorcery or manipulation or yelling at Sideshow reps. It was all actually in Sideshow's policy when it comes to delayed items. And over the past 12 months, I was forced to reevaluate my collecting habits. And one of the reasons I actually stepped away from YouTube and social media, if you didn't know, was because of my wife's declining health and some very painful deaths within my family. And I may share more about that at another time, but when my family was falling apart, the last thing I really cared about, I'm sure you guys agree with, was getting new figures and dealing with any of that. And the truth of the matter was, crazy medical bills were overtaking our life, and I needed to prioritize paying for my wife's treatments instead of collecting figures. And several of you watching this, in fact, bought some of the figures that I put up for sale, and I'm just so thankful that you did. And I want to say thank you, and I hope that you have been enjoying them as much as when I used to have them. But that's the reason that my collection room is the way it is and why there's boxes all over the place, because I ended up selling about 200 figures from my collection, and naturally, I had a bunch of things pre-ordered that would eventually be coming in. So that brings us back to what happened in this video. So every time I would get an email from Sideshow saying that this figure is preparing to ship, I did a hard look at whether or not I really wanted to move forward with keeping it. So once I had done my evaluation, I'd made my decision. I then proceeded to modify my order on the website, scroll down, click that cancel item button, and as I said, because most of these items were delayed, I was entitled to my deposit back. So let's start there. If there's a figure that you're considering that you may not want to end up keeping, don't cancel it right away. Wait until it's actually getting ready to ship, because if that figure ends up getting delayed, then you decide to cancel, well, you're going to be getting your money back. Now, of course, not every item ends up being delayed, and there are a few that I did lose my NRD on. But boy, what a relief to go and get an extra $30, $40, or sometimes $50 back, and the peace of mind knowing that a figure that I didn't really want is no longer going to have to cause me a big headache. Sounds like the math is mathing. So you may be wondering, okay, Kiko, get to it. Which figures did you cancel and why? Okay, dear viewer, here we go. Let's start with what I was thinking category. The first up is the black and gold Mark 7. And this actually was the very first figure I ended up canceling, and I did not get my deposit back. But it was a lesson learned that I did not need another Iron Man in my collection. I have plenty of them, as you can see behind me, let alone a gimmick color and a $500 deposit out the door. I gave in to the exclusive tag, I admit, because I did have the D100 Iron Man, which I really do love and is one of my favorites in the collection, but I had no business grabbing this one too. The next was the Dueling Effects Vader. Again, a gimmick figure that I thought would be cool, but I have 4 Darth Vaders already. I didn't need this abomination. Next up was the Superior Spider-Man. I know a lot of people have a special place in their heart for Spidey, but I just had too many of them. And outside of the MCU Spider-Man, I've gotten rid of all of the gaming Spideys except for the Scarlet Spider, because that one is just too elite. So Superior Spidey looked awesome, but when that email came and I could get my NRD back, this was a no-brainer. Next on the WTF list is poor Kit Fisto. My man, who was immortalized in a meme, spent years in the Hot Toys graveyard only to be resurrected, put up for pre-order, and ultimately canceled by me when I started to think about it. And as I've stated, I was needing to thin my collection, and meme-worthy background characters at the prices that we pay for these things already just wasn't worth it to me. These next two were big, literally, and the first one was 21 inches of Venom. And as you can see behind me, I have a 3rd scale Venom statue. I have multiple Venom and symbiote figures already. I love the character. I love the game. But this piece was just too big. It looks super cool, yes, but at almost a 1/4 scale in size, that's not something I wanted taking up my display space. And speaking of taking up display space, my final what was I thinking cancellation was the due back. And with an NRD close to $50, I was happy to see that due back to me. How'd you like that dad joke? But I love my vehicles, and the due back is essentially a vehicle, but it isn't a Batmobile. It's not a DeLorean. It's a giant lizard, and sacrifices had to be made. Now, moving on to the section I am dubbing Premium Regret, because the next batch of figures I canceled were all supposed to be premium offerings from Hot Toys. That's right, I'm talking about, in my opinion, the doomed Artisan line and figures that I canceled. You know, I'm old enough to remember back when the line was first announced with Anakin a few years ago. Don't you remember the Q system broke, the hype was real, and the Artisan concept was supposed to be a direct answer to InArt? I'm not even being an InArt shill right now, but I think most people can objectively say that Hot Toys has not lived up to their Artisan hype. The QC issues, the ballooning prices, and the delays, yes, the delays, are really causing people to sour on them. And because almost all of them have been delayed, I've got my deposit back on almost all of them. Now, I'm fair. I did keep my Dark Knight Joker because I did think that one was pretty good. I kept the Black Widow because I think it's actually their best Artisan figure released to date. But all that to say, these are the ones that I canceled and why. First up is the Artisan Scarlet Witch. You all know me, and you know that Wanda is an S-tier character for me. Absolutely adore her. And because of that, I ordered the sculpted and the Artisan to make sure that I wouldn't get burned. Wanda releases, and what do you know? A massive QC issue with her hair, glue all over the place, and at that price point that they were asking, especially knowing that I already had the sculpted locked down and ready, that was an easy choice. The next two, Jack Sparrow and the Joaquin Joker, were canceled because I already had versions of them in the collection. I jumped on the hype train when Sparrow was first announced, but the more I thought of it and the more I looked at my DX15, I did not see any reason to pay $500 to upgrade a figure that I already had, with upgrades that I would argue are fairly minimal. Like Captain Jack, I already had the InArt 4-pack for the Joker, the Joaquin version, and I believe those are far superior, so I went ahead and canceled that too. Then, there was the most recent cancellation, Artisan Loki. Did it look cool? Yeah. Was it the definitive Loki? Not a chance. I literally have every Loki besides this one already, and if I really change my mind and I want the sculpted option, it's available. Now the last one on my dumbest order yet, that being Dark Empire Luke. And transparently, I actually pre-ordered it while I was drunk on a cruise. You can actually confirm that with Will Foxification. He actually texted me when I was on my trip, asking what I was going to do, and I decided I'd give it a try. And once I'd sobered up and realized it was a cheap Luke on a Darth Vader body, I pulled the plug as soon as I could. But now, on to the main event. Here are the figures that I canceled that actually hurt to cancel. These are the ones that I waited until the very last day before my card was charged to decide whether or not I was going to drop them. The first step was actually a 2-for-1. Not because it was a 2-pack, but because I felt you couldn't have one without the other, and that was Echo in 5s from the Clone Wars. When I started thinning everything out, I decided that I was only going to go for main characters and shelf stealers. Echo and 5s are such a cool looking set of troopers, but I had accumulated too many of them already, and they were all kind of starting to feel the same. So I reluctantly decided that no more troopers were coming into the collection. It hurt, but it had to be done. The next figure that hurt was the 2.0 Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. This is exactly the release that we had all hoped for and the one that we wanted to get when No Way Home first came out. The proportions were flawless, the suit is better, and the head sculpt finally actually looks like Andrew, but to the chagrin of some, Andrew's not my Spider-Man. That's a great entry into the franchise, and I wish more people would put some respect on his name, but I don't need 2 Andrew Garfield figures when I already have one. Not to mention that giant display base that this one come with was going to be absolutely useless, and I was never going to use it. The next one that a lot of people will be shaking their heads at, and that is the die-cast General Grievous. Look, I love the prequels, don't get me wrong, but after having the Sideshow version before and hating it, and me wanting to stick to only main characters, yes, Grievous isn't even the main bad guy of either of the movies that he's in. You can fight me on that in the comments if you'd like. But he has a nice Clone Wars arc, we'll get to that later on, but he's still not main character energy. I know, he looks big and commands a shelf, but I just couldn't do it. Like I said, the Sideshow one never jumped off the shelf for me, and it had better articulation and paint apps, and I get all that, but I wasn't going to save this either. And lastly, the final figure that hurt for me to cancel, and the final figure of this list, is the 2.0 of the Iron Man Mark 42. To be honest, I don't know why this hurts so bad. I actually have a diecast Mark 42, just not the 2.0. I have a zillion Iron Men still in my collection, as we've seen and talked about, but for some reason, this one, I did a double take when I clicked the cancel button. Maybe it's the head sculpt. Looks incredible. Maybe it's finally being able to have a USB-powered Iron Man that everyone always wanted. I don't know. But when it said I was about to be charged $500+ to get this shipped to me, I remembered that I did have a diecast Mark 42 already, with an actual screen-accurate open mass helmet, by the way. Before you knew it, that deposit was headed back my way. Well, there you have it. The 15 or 16 figures that I officially canceled, and got most of my deposits back, by the way. And why? So what do you think? Did I make a mistake on any of these? Will I end up regretting my decision and overpaying down the road to reacquire them? Well, I don't know. Will I be proven wise and prudent for my decisions? Well, I guess we'll find out, won't we? And we'll just have to wait and see. So in the meantime, as I said, if you haven't already, make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. Make sure that you have your notifications on so that you know when new content does drop. And as I said in my last video, give me some topics that you want me to talk about. And the topics that receive the most votes by you down in the comments will win the prize and my attention. So until next time, happy collecting. Stay warm out there. Stay smart. And I'll be seeing you in our next video.